So we're chatting to Rob Pekin from Food Connect in Salisbury, Brisbane, Australia. Now, this is a local food business, Rob. Can you tell us how you and your family and Emma Kate are coping at this time of change?
Well, yeah, it's what interesting times we're living in, Jane. We're coping all right. Obviously, I think Emma went into lockdown maybe 4 weeks ago, and I started working from home 2 weeks ago. Even though schools were open, there was just no one going to school, and we decided to keep ours back. So that was a change. But over at the Food Connect shed, things have been going in three different ways because we have community ownership over the warehouse, which houses 27 tenants, social enterprises. Pretty much all of them are in food, and so they've been pivoting, and some have been temporarily closing, some have been going gangbusters. So working with all of them around how can the shed support them, and obviously get our head around all of this, because there was so much mixed messaging in the original days, with the states doing one thing and the Prime Minister saying another thing, and health officials all over the place, particularly Norman Swan, cutting through it all. It's been really busy. As I said, the Food Connect Foundation, which pivoted its business to just be around events, because community and culture are really important to us, so it was going to focus on events. So it's completely collapsed. All the weddings and all of the events we had organised there basically got cancelled. Food Connect is going gangbusters. It's the social enterprises that delivers a multi-farmer CSA, community supported agriculture system. It's going great. And the shed is in this interim space where it's going, wow, we've got tenants who we don't want to kick out, so we're looking after them as much as possible whilst they figure out what they're going to do and how long is this going to last, and those sort of things. So, but I will get to some of these sort of, some of those sort of what's in the future, further on in the chat.
Yeah. So maybe if we just look at Food Connect itself, the provision of local food, you had the systems in place already, really, to help local delivery. So that would be coming into its own at the moment, is it?
Absolutely, yeah. Because we've got this, because we're divorced from market forces, and we have flat pricing with all our farmers, and most of our farmers have been with us for the 15, going into our 16th year. So, and because they're very, very close, we had, fortunately, we got those rains. If we can get those rains, maybe 6 weeks to 8 weeks ago, it would have been a different story. Not to say it would have been worse, we're in this sort of hunger gap period at the moment where we're moving out of the Stanthorpe region, the cold, that sort of temperate region, through summertime here, who provide tomatoes and corn and a lot of those zucchinis and cucumbers, down into the Brisbane Valley, which is just starting to kick in as a result of those rains. The timing, so our farmers have been up to the task of harvesting and getting stuff into us, and because we've quadrupled in size, which is an immense challenge for those enterprises that were in the shed who found their businesses dropping a bit. We just diverted them, and they all got jobs on the packing line or as drivers and vans and things like that. So as a community of 27 tenants, I think it's about 120 people in there, have all been supporting each other and working things out, and obviously, giving each other advice on online systems and how to take advantage of people suddenly having to work from home, and kids who, isn't it amazing how much kids eat when they're at home? We've just found our orders had to double here to cope with the kids just being at home. Goodness knows what they ate at school, or whether they ate at all, because the lunchboxes always come back, with stuff still in them. But here it's quite incredible. But that's an aside. That sort of influence or indicated to some of the things that might happen in the future. Yes, but the farmers have been up to the task. We, as you said, we've been working on a system that has been waiting for the moment when the food system started to collapse, as it currently, exists. And so we haven't had any blips at all. We've been really impressed by how well we responded, like we did back in the floods. Our customer base has been ever so supportive. We've had that many returning customers. Most of our quadrupling in size has come from old customers. So, so they've gone to someone they can trust, someone they know. Oh, Food Connect, yes, let's go and get a box off them. They are, we do home delivery now. I interviewed all the key leadership positions at Food Connect today, because there's over 20 staff. Well, there's actually more than that, way more than that. We put on 10 new staff last week. But they're all so excited about this opportunity. They're really enthusiastic. They want to ride this wave. They want to see where it goes. And it's an amazing opportunity for us to, I suppose, inform in a stronger way. We've always been out there trying to advocate for a fairer food system, and one that, brokers this conundrum between how do we pay farmers fairly but have really good food done affordably, for people, and that's really hard to be. That's been very hard to do in the era of cheap fossil fuels and externalisation of all of those. The way the extractive food system has operated thus far, but that's starting to unravel now, and we've still got a way to go in terms of how the global food system is going to cope with some of the shocks. We're talking about listening to the radio today. Backpackers. All of the issues with non-workforce, or the workforce that's needed to harvest out there in all over Australia, and the workforce just isn't out there. So it's interesting times ahead.
And Rob, what do you think is driving that quadrupling of demand for local food that is delivered in boxes?
Yeah, well, we haven't done a good survey yet, but our first indications are they trust us to get the food. I think when there was scares in supermarkets, obviously not having food on their shelves, I think people sort of went, well, we've never gone without at Food Connect, and they must have food because they've got farmers pretty close by, and we're not relying on a global system to get that product. So that must probably weigh into people's minds. I think also too that because we didn't know a lot about this virus, a lot of people were thinking, well, they're talking about compromised immune systems being pretty vulnerable to it, so therefore we need to go and get food that we know is going to boost our immune system. And so I think that the marketing surveys we do after this will bear out what exactly are the drivers towards that. Obviously, a lot of people, suddenly being told to work from home, and they've Googled, home delivery food systems, and found us and put an order in. So there's been an influx, I'd say, but then we did look at the back end of our ordering system, and it is showing that most of our customers, there's not brand new customers, they're all old customers returning. So I'm assuming it's got to be something around, well, it's local food, therefore we've got to trust it. And Food Connect have always done that. Yeah.
Yes. So, the crisis has elevated awareness about where food comes from, and also, I guess, about the potential for, minimising waste, perhaps, in the system. Do you think? Have you personally become more aware of that, or because of your business, you've always been on that page, Rob?
Yeah, we've always been on the page of no waste and, decoupled from fossil fuels and, divorce from market forces. That might have been another thing too, Jane. The virus has disrupted so many global systems. So looking for a local solution is sort of a way of going, well, if it's local, then it's not going to be disrupted as much. And then the second part of that is that what was it you were saying? Oh, now I've lost my train.
Just about the return to local, probably. The local.
Yeah, a return to local, and Yeah, no, there is something else in there. It'll come to me anyway. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I think trust
Mm.
is really important as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
supporting local community, I think that seems to be arising as well.
yeah, yes.
But Rob, just reflecting on your background and I guess
Mm,
what brought you to Food Connect in the first place,
mm, mm.
the skills and life experience from then would obviously be standing you in good stead at the moment to seize the day.
Yes, yeah. Well, I don't know about seize the day, but remain calm and have the tentacles out, observing things and just saying, chill, people. We just need to ride this because it's out of our control. And as you were indicating, losing my dairy farm and going through that horrendous experience, leading up to that through the dairy deregulation back in the late 90s, and then my eventual sort of coming out of that cathartic experience, it certainly, has given me the resilience, but also through that phase, I gave myself good time to follow my dream or follow my inner instinct of I need to put a solution on the ground that stops what happened to me happening to more farmers into the future, and what other models were out there, and what models could I what could I tease out of other things and put together in the Australian context that might work for Australian farmers and the Australian psyche and all those sort of things, has certainly put the business in a good place. And then the second part is, having 27 tenants, we're on their care lord, going through a really horrendous experience of going, geez, my market just absolutely fell through. And I'm there in the shed saying, you can do this, this and this, Food Connect can help you with here. It's just giving them the confidence to know that they're going to get through this. I lost my farm, I lost everything, had $90,000 in debt. I didn't have anything apart from my old ute and a couple of bits and pieces, and I managed to pull through it. Despite all those setbacks, I managed to piece a life together and now bring something into the world that hopefully is useful at this point in time. And I think enough people have read my story and know about my story and know about my nature and I suppose I don't know what the word is, but just my enthusiasm to ride this through, that this is our moment, this is our time, this is what we're here for. And that's why I built the shed. Has been purchased by the community for exactly this reason, to be resilient in tough times and to come out of it shaping a new future, a portal into something perhaps beyond what we even imagined could be possible for the world economy or for the food system or for other because as you know, we work in the complexity side of systems change. We're not sort of just changing one part of the system. We're trying to change everything. The way the economy, the way the food economy works, the way investment works, the way property is viewed. It's not a capitalisation. It's not an object where you make your money through capitalisation. It's a place where people make the world a better place. Where social entrepreneurs can mix. So that complexity of systems change has allowed us to really understand that this particular moment in time is basically giving the world a bit of a shake, and what a lovely shake. They're telling everyone to, if you look at it through some sort of universal mind or metaphysical, you'd sort of say, well, what better place to be shaken up but in your own home, to be sent home and to go, this is where we want you to be safe and to think through this and to read books and to spend time with family. I mean, it's almost too beautiful to be true, really.
I agree with you, actually. That time for self-reflection and a pause and a slowing down before we, leap back into what was or into a new future. And so, Rob, in terms of daily strategies and routines, how has it changed for you, the whole routine?
Yeah, well, I'm working from home, as you can see. I mean, I drop into Food Connect, the shed occasionally, but I'm sort of maintaining my distance because I saw this as an opportunity for me to actually, even though I'm incredibly busy, that it was really important for me to, bring a few books back and sit on the couch and take that time out and to just not be interrupted at all whilst I sort of observed and tried to read as best as I could what was going on, and obviously stay on top of all the government's decisions and those sort of things, so I could provide that advice to all the entities, all the social enterprises that Emma and I mean, Emma's head of Queensland Social Enterprise Council, a lot of them were in hospitality, so she's dealing with it as well. So our routines have been more around home and more around conversations about, what do we need to do now to sort of give people the confidence that things are going to be all right. What's going to be the recovery strategy, and what are we going to bounce forward to as in a couple of weeks' time when the dust is settling and people are starting to understand, is that a word, or just settle into a new routine, as you're saying, routine. Looking at the soonest we're going to be allowed out of our homes is 3 months, but most people are saying 6 months. Now, 3 months, if you're into behavioural change, habits change in 3 months. We're going to get more than 3 months. So this is a magnificent opportunity for behaviours to change, for habits to be reshaped. So it behooves us as people who have been waiting for a bit of a shake-up, a bit of the global system to start to sort of, where the cracks are appearing. It behooves us to actually be in a place where we can provide that what's the word? Not advice, just provide that information. Provide that message that of this is how the world could be. This is how
and what do you reckon? How do you think the world can be, Rob? What do you think's ahead in terms of economic and cultural and social change?
Well, just take at face value, people being at home. There's going to be, people cooking and homesteading and doing, wondering what else can I do? Like, we've even got a jigsaw out. We never get a jigsaw out apart from holidays, So, so there's going to be a lot of people contemplating life, and that hasn't happened in this, for 40 or 50 years. We've had, apart from the GFC and the Twin Towers burning, which sort of stopped people for a couple of months or a couple of days. This, the recovery is going to be 5-10 years. This is a long time where people are going to, through this moment of being sort of told to go home and contemplate your nasal. That's going to be really, people are going to have time to think about things they haven't thought about before, have conversations with their loved ones and their kids that they haven't had before. They're going to have to deal with living in close proximity to each other. You can't just sort of escape to work. The one big trend I know is going to happen is, I was actually talking to a very senior executive of a big construction company who are building, the casino in Brisbane here, massive. They've got 65,000 employees globally. And they've pushed back every time the staff have said, we can work from home. And they've always pushed back. Senior management executive have said, no, we want you to work in offices where we can control you and, know what you've done. Well, that whole argument has just gone out the window. So much so that they're trying to rewrite all their leases on those big office blocks, where they only want half the space or sometimes only 30% of the space. So we're going to see the CBD not be that centre of power. Now that has all sorts of ripple effects. If we look at the world in general, how it is shaped by power and money. That's the way the world is shaped. Even the Prime Minister and the neoliberal sort of agenda is now being reshaped because they're having to drop a lot of that stuff. They're having to bring in regulation, you know, like so much legislation is being passed overnight around social justice issues. So that's a big change. You know, from a food point of view, people are going to look at nutrition in a different way. They're going to look at food as nutrition because, you know, I want to be healthy. I need to give myself the best possible chance of building up my immune system so it can resist, you know, coming under whatever this virus. Because we're not here, you know, when you listen to the experts, they're saying this isn't the first. You know, there's going to be another virus in a year's time. There's so many things out there that humanity, or the population of humanity on the planet, has severely altered, and there's some nasty things coming up around the corner. So people are going to look at food as Aristotle said, you know, as pay the farmer more, or what's the word Aristotle said? May food be thy medicine. We're certainly going to look at stronger regional economies, manufacturing, all of those sort of things at a regional level or a state level are going to be bolstered by this effort, because people are going to come out of this not trusting the global, you know, what's the word, in time, you know,
just in time supply.
Just in time, just in time supply. People are going to spend on essentials, not on superfluous consumptive items, because the economy is probably never going to recover in terms of, it'll never bounce back to, you know, the GDP or whatever, you know, ridiculous way they measure it at the moment. There's going to be a very different way people go about using their discretionary income. We're going to see the percentage of discretionary income on food go up, you know, to probably, you know, the 60s, maybe the 50s level. You know, it was around about at the moment. It's, you know, I think is it 6 or 7% of income is on food, 6 or 7% is on alcohol and smokes, and 6 or 7% is on eating out. So we're going to see that rise, that household spending rise. We're going to see a rise in people doing, you know, patching their clothes and, you know,
being resourceful and self-sufficient.
Yeah, self-sufficiency. Yeah, and it won't, and I don't think it'll come with, because previously, you know, politically, whenever you talked about self-sufficiency, they would call you a, you know, like where you're going back to putting tariffs on, you know, like protectionist. It's not going to be seen in that light. It's going to be seen as, no, we want to make sure that we're going to have, you know, when the next shock comes, we're going to be economically more resilient. So that way of I suppose twisting words around and making us, you know, people who you know, as I say when I give talks to farmers, I say being frugal and being thrifty and being really, you know, repairing things is a very conservative thing to do. Yet we're all called lefty greenies. You know, it's just a ridiculous sort of system. I don't think that'll be around much. You know, we won't be called lefty loonies anymore. Well, not that I'm a lefty or a loony, but certainly that's going to get a shake-up. And the other trend that we're sort of seeing come out of this is and it goes to that first point I said about the CBD is going to be emptied out, is we're going to see the suburbs suddenly become fuller. You know, we're going to see people driving less to work. You know, there's going to be a lot of less, I mean, cars. I mean, when you look at, I was at my dentist today. I was his last patient. He shut the doors. You know, he said, if this goes longer than 3 months, I haven't got the money to pull us out of it. If it goes for 6 months, that's it. You know, I'm not going to come back as a dentist. I've got to, I mean, he's close to retirement, so I don't think he's too worried. But the car industry, you know, it's falling over as we speak. There's just so many industries wrapped up in that consumerist world that are going to be no longer. Yeah, or when they do come back, it won't be as we won't be as consumerist as we were before.
So are you excited about all this, Rob? Is it,
hell yeah.
Sort of,
Yeah, this is as I was saying, this is a real portal into a new world as we want to imagine it, and one of our staff members yesterday, when I was talking about this is a Food Connect, and he said if we don't start to talk about how we want the future, someone else is going to write it for us, and we need to be out in front. So for all the people who have been thinking and feeling and wondering about when is our chance to bring forward ecologically sustainable, economically resilient models and businesses that are fair and ethical and not extractive, when's that time going to come for us? Because the way capitalism has been operating thus far on the growth at any cost model just seemed to be unbreakable. We could see the cracks, but we couldn't see where it was going to fall down. This is our chance to rewrite, is to tell another story whilst people are at home. I'm going to do a few webinars with Costa and David Holmgren and other things as well, just to sort of find out what their thinking is and what books have they read, so people can be at home and go, oh, I might get that book and read that book and start to inform themselves of a better way that we can operate as a society. So this is, as I always say, there's sort of three, there's 5 essential things according to Maslow: a roof over our heads, food to eat, friendship, love, community, getting from A to B, and how we energise our houses. Where do we get our energy from? They're the 5 key things. And, we don't really need cars because we've got bikes and we can walk. So a lot of that's going to happen. We're going to visit our neighbours and it's going to be much more suburbally, if that's a word. But so those essential things of food, housing, in a new economic model are going to be really important. How do we create spaces that aren't just a place where we sleep? They're going to be places that we want to be around. And how's that look for a person who's looking to build a new house that's going to be economically resilient? So it'll have to have passive energy conditions built into it. So I'm trying to remember where I was going with the Maslow's hierarchy. Those 5 things.
Well, we'll get back to those things that are really important, aren't they? We'll get back to the things that are really important, and the frivolous stuff will all be cast aside. But thanks so much for your insights, Rob. It's been great to chat. And
no worries, pleasure.
Here's to
really, really exciting times. I mean, and I obviously don't mean that in the way, people are dying. People have been put in hospital. Hospital staff are being overrun and worked, being worked to the bone. So I'm not.
We're grateful to those on the front line, aren't we?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and on the front line in many places, like I'm seeing the packing team, just doing huge shifts and separated into 2 teams, an A team and a Z team, to keep the distance between the 2 packing teams. So we've got 2 separate packing teams. But I'm certainly not discounting at all the hurt and the pain and the suffering that people are going through. But it is an interesting opportunity for society to take stock and rethink our values. We're going to see an alignment of values. That's probably the most exciting thing, is we're going to see an alignment or a realignment of what's important to people around how they live their lives, and that and be in a way that's really empowering to people, not in a way where you're dictated to, you should do this or you should do that, because it's right. It's going to be something that people are going to unfold for themselves, because they've got this time to sit at home and be with loved ones.
Well, great. Thanks for the chat, Rob. It's really good, and we'll see you in person one day again.
Pleasure, Jane. Yes, hope so too. Take care.